Hello friends, welcome to Dr. Jaggi's Academy. In today's lecture, I will discuss about the drugs which can be used for the management of the hypertension. So this is the first part of the video in which I will discuss the first drug of choice in the hypertension. So first of all, regarding the hypertension, which is actually we say hypertension when the systolic blood pressure is equal to or more than 140 mm of mercury and the diastolic pressure becomes more than 90 mm of mercury. So that we say it is a hypertension. And if we see the formula of the blood pressure, it is equal to cardiac output and the peripheral resistance. Multiply these two terms and you get the blood pressure. So what is cardiac output? Cardiac output is the amount of the blood pumped by the heart in 1 minute. Okay, so this is the contribution that is coming from the heart, how much heart is contracting, what is the blood volume, okay, that is cardiac output. Second thing is the peripheral resistance, which is related to the blood vessels, that is to the arteries. That means the resistance offered in the arteries. Because of that resistance, there is a blood pressure. And this resistance ultimately depends on the diameter of the arteries. Larger the diameter, obviously lesser is the resistance. So coming down to the antihypertensive agents. So in today's lecture I will discuss about the first line agents and we are having the 4 drugs in this category. First is the diuretics, in which we are having the thiazide diuretics which are preferred. Then we are having the beta blockers, in which we use selective beta 1 blockers. We are having calcium channel blockers, in which we prefer dihydropyridine like drugs. Then we are having the drugs that modulate renin-angiotensin system, in which we are having 3 categories of drugs: ACE inhibitors, AT1 receptor antagonists, and direct renin inhibitors. So first of all, I will go for the diuretics. So now if we go for the diuretics, diuretics are again of different types. One is the thiazide type, and the prototype drug in this category is the hydrochlorothiazide. Then we are having thiazide-like. In this we are having the indapamide. Then we are having high ceiling diuretics, high efficacious diuretics. We are having the example of the furosemide. Then we are having the potassium sparing diuretics, that is spironolactone. Now what is the difference is that all these drugs, they reduce the potassium levels. Obviously this indapamide reduces potassium levels to a lesser extent, but even then they reduces the potassium level. But this is the category of the drug which do not allow the potassium to decrease, rather potassium they are increased, they are preserved. That is why they are called as potassium sparing diuretics. So now, first of all, now this category, thiazide diuretics, these are the preferred agent for the management of hypertension. This thiazide is basically a chemical structure. Because of the chemical structure, this is thiazide. So now we are having the drugs like hydrochlorothiazide, chlorothiazide, chlorothalidone, and these drugs are very effective and they reduce the blood pressure within 2 to 4 weeks. And one thing very important, by themselves, if you use thiazide diuretics of their own, okay, single drug you can say, then they reduce, there is a modest reduction in the blood pressure. That means when they use alone. But their major significance is that if you combine these diuretic with other drugs, then this combination is very effective. That is, combination of thiazide with other antihypertensive agent is very effective. Why it is very effective? Because it reduces the development of resistance in other antihypertensive drugs. Let's say what I am saying is that, let's say you are using some antihypertensive agent like beta blocker or ACE inhibitors. So what happens? It may be possible after a certain period of time, the efficacy is reduced because of the development of the resistance. Okay, because with period of time fluid retention start taking place. But if you use diuretics, then they reduce the resistance. This is the major significance. Now coming down to the mechanism of action. So you know what is diuretic? Diuretic is the one which increases the flow of the urine, the amount of the urine. Okay, the amount of urine that is coming outside, that is increased, the fluid volume is reduced. Okay, so because of that thing, if the fluid volume is reduced, obviously the cardiac output will be reduced. Okay, because there is a decrease in plasma volume, and it happens in the initial stages. But this is not a complete mechanism. I will discuss in 3 steps. So what happens in the second steps? So initially you have reduced the cardiac output, but in the body compensatory mechanisms are activated. They try to regain the fluid volume, they try to maintain the cardiac output, and ultimately this happens actually. You can see about 95% of the cardiac output is regained. So obviously this mechanism should not operate, then BP should come normal, but what happens is that because we are using diuretics for a long period of time, as I told, within 2 to 4 weeks they produce the effect. So when you are using for persistent time, so almost all cardiac output is overcome, it is regained. You know, diuretics they increase the fluid volume as well as they increase the excretion of sodium also. So sodium is also regained, but small deficit in sodium ions still remain in the body. So what I am saying is that diuretics, they increase the sodium excretion from the body. Okay, with period of time they try to regain the sodium, but even then some deficit in sodium remain in the body. So because of this decrease in sodium, the sodium will be reduced in the smooth muscular cells. As a result, the stiffness and the responsiveness to the constrictive stimuli will be reduced. These things are reduced. So that means blood vessels, they are not responding to constrictive stimuli to that extent. The stiffness is reduced. If these two things are reduced, obviously there is a reduction in the peripheral resistance. And because of this decrease in peripheral resistance, there is a decrease in the blood pressure. So this is the decrease in cardiac output is initial mechanism, but reduction in cardiac output, reduction in the peripheral resistance on a long-term use is the major mechanism, and that happens because of the decrease in the sodium ion, small decrease in the sodium ion. Now, actually, what happened that initially when diuretics, these thiazide diuretics, they were used in this dose range, 50 mg per day. But this dose was found to produce number of side effects. Now later it was found that even if you reduce the dose to 25 mg, even then the effects are produced. Indeed, you can say if you increase the dose beyond 25, no further increase in effect will be produced. Okay. So what happens is that means no further reduction in BP after increasing the dose beyond 25. So usual dose that we use of this chlorothiazide is that 12.5 to 25 mg per day. So now, side effects of thiazides. Because of the low dose of the thiazides, we are having these patients tolerate the drug in a better manner. But whatever the side effect is there, that is the hypokalemia. They reduce the potassium levels. They decrease the potassium level, that is very important. And ultimately they also cause the impairment in the glucose tolerance. They also increase the serum cholesterol level and produce the hyperuricemia. So I am just repeating, they cause a reduction in the potassium level, and these effects, glucose impairment, cholesterol changes and hyperuricemia, they are minimal. These are minimal in these doses. So, but you have to remember, glucose intolerance, cholesterol, hyperuricemia, they may happen after a long period of time. So now the clinical status. So if you see, these thiazide diuretics, they are the first drug of choice in essential hypertension, especially in the elderly persons. And you have to remember that, as I told, if you increase the dose beyond 25 mg, no further increase in response will take place. So what will happen if you are giving the maximum dose of chlorothiazide and still there is no further increase in the response, then what you do? Do not increase the dose. So what you do? You add another drug from the different category. Okay, you add beta blocker, you add like calcineurin blockers or some other drug. Okay. And another thing, these thiazides, they are not very effective if person is suffering from the chronic kidney disease. These things you have to remember. So that means if this is the condition, you see that renal clearance is very less, then you can replace these thiazides with the high ceiling diuretics like furosemide. So high ceiling diuretic furosemide is normally not used in the hypertension, but it is used if the person is not responding or if you cannot use these chlorothiazides. Now coming down to advantages. So these chlorothiazides, they do not produce fluid retention, no tolerance, and another important thing, if you use these chlorothiazides, they increase the calcium reabsorption from the kidneys, from the renal system. So they increase the calcium level. So what is happened? Beneficial effect is that the person you are having an elderly person, you are giving chlorothiazides. Along with the reduction in the BP, they are increasing the calcium level. So that means simultaneously you are also improving the condition of the osteoporosis. So it is the additional benefit. So another advantage that a single dose is sufficient in a day, and very effective in the elderly persons, especially a condition which I have mentioned, isolated systolic hypertension. This is the condition, as a name indicates, there is a selective increase in the systolic blood pressure, not the diastolic blood pressure. So this happens in the elderly persons. In this condition, these diuretics are very effective, particularly thiazides. Now there is another category, thiazide type diuretics. Thiazide, they are similar to thiazides like indapamide. This is very similar to thiazides. This reduces the BP with minimal diuresis. So obviously its again mechanism is the reduction in the peripheral resistance. Another advantage that it produces minimal hyperkalemia. Potassium levels, they are not altered. Okay. So potassium levels generally remain to the same side. The thiazide, particularly, they were producing the hypokalemia. It should be hypokalemia only. They do not cause hypokalemia, and they are having the minimal metabolic effect. So this is the preferred. Now coming down to another category of drug, high ceiling diuretics. High ceiling means high efficacious, very strong diuretics. Their effect is much more stronger than the thiazide. They are strong diuretics. Example is furosemide. These drugs are preferred for the management of congestive heart failure, not blood pressure, not preferred for the hypertension. The reason is that because they cause profound sodium and water loss. If there is a profound sodium and water loss for a regular period, you are giving these drugs twice a day, and the person is having diuretic effect, he is losing water. Ultimately, what you can see, you will see there is a lot of electrolyte imbalance, there is a weakness. And that weakness is ultimately more problematic for the person. Okay, and so obviously because their major mechanism is the loss of the water, so their antihypertensive effect is dependent upon the reduction in the cardiac output, not on the reduction in the peripheral resistance. Reduction in peripheral resistance was with the thiazides, not with these high ceiling diuretics. So reduction in peripheral resistance is not maintained because of the short duration of action. These furosemides, they are shorter acting, they have to be given twice a day, while thiazides, they are given single time a day. So again I am repeating, not used, not preferred for hypertension, preferred for the congestive heart failure. Now coming down to another category, aldosterone antagonist. Now we are having the potassium sparing diuretics. Now example is the spironolactone, eplerenone. Now these are again belong to the category of mild diuretics. They are not used generally, they are not preferred agent for the reduction of the blood pressure. Rather they are used in the if the person is not responding, that is refractory cases, not responding to drug therapy, then you can add these kind of the aldosterone antagonists. And this again, this is a very effective drug in the CHF, not in the blood pressure. Side effects, hyperkalemia, opposite to other category of drugs, furosemide, thiazide, the reduction in potassium, it produces hyperkalemia. So this should be monitored. Now this spironolactone has some other problems. It has some hormonal problems. It may produce gynecomastia, hormonal changes, hirsutism, these kind of things. Now another category, coming down to the beta blockers. So this was the first category, diuretics, in which the drug of choice was the thiazide diuretic. Coming down to beta blockers. So in the beta blockers we use the selective beta 1 blockers. Examples atenolol, metoprolol, these kind of drugs. And these are very effective drugs if the person is having a relatively young age. That means you can say the persons are less than the age of 60. Then we generally prefer beta blockers. Mechanism of action: they reduce the cardiac output, they reduce the renin secretion, they cause reduction in peripheral reduction as a adaptive response. Now I will not explain the whole mechanisms here because I have already explained these mechanism of beta blockers in my previous video, beta blocker in the cardiovascular diseases. So you just click that link which is given in the description section, and you can see all these mechanisms in detail. Coming down to this category of drug, this drug, that is labetalol. This is a block. It blocks alpha as well as beta receptors, so it acts much faster than the pure beta blockers, and the mechanism is that it reduces the peripheral resistance. So because it is a fast acting drug, so it can be used in the hypertensive crisis, hypertensive emergencies. So in that condition we use by intravenous method. So the certain conditions we can use in the preeclampsia, that is very high blood pressure in the pregnancy. Cheese reaction. So this is a drug interaction which happens when the person is taking the MAO inhibitors, which are used as antidepressants, and person is taking some food like cheese. So there is an alarming rise in the blood pressure in that condition. Then clonidine withdrawal. Clonidine is an antihypertensive drug. So you are giving clonidine for a long period of time, and then you immediately suddenly withdraw it. Then there is an abrupt rise in the blood pressure. Severe rebound increase in the blood pressure due to the sudden withdrawal of the clonidine. In that condition, you can give the labetalol. That means whenever there is a hypertensive crisis or hypertensive emergencies. Another category, third category, calcium channel blockers. Now in this category, we prefer these kind of drugs, trihydropyridine derivatives like amlodipine, nicardipine, nifedipine. This is a long list of drugs. So they are very effective in the elderly persons. Minimal side effects, very well tolerated, first line agents. All the drugs which I am mentioning today, thiazide, beta blockers and calcium channel and ACE inhibitors, all these are the first drug of choice. Okay, depending upon the patient, the physician chooses which drug I have to choose. Mechanism of action: these dihydropyridines, they are vasoselective and they produce vasodilation and reduce the peripheral resistance. Again, the detailed mechanisms you can see by clicking the link which is given in the description section related to the calcium channel blockers. This category, renin-angiotensin modulating drugs. We are having the ACE inhibitors like enalapril, lisinopril, AT1 receptor blockers, losartan, candesartan, direct renin inhibitor, eliscarine, and these are again the preferred agents in the hypertensive agents, but in hypertension, particularly these two categories. Mechanism of action: they produce vasodilation because angiotensin produces vasoconstriction. They reduce the fluid retention and reduce the cardiac output. Again, I am not telling the full mechanism. Just go and click the link which is related to the renin-angiotensin system. You will see the whole mechanism related to the hypertension. So in the upcoming video, I will discuss about the remaining antihypertensive drugs which can be used for the management of hypertension. Thank you.